Hi Seals fans, my name is Dani and I'm a rookie with the Sirens dancers this year. I hope that you guys are staying home, staying safe, and staying healthy as we get through these crazy times together. If you're looking for something to do today, join me because I'm going to be teaching you how to get field ready by learning our signature Sirens makeup look. So to get started, I'm going to use my Crush XO priming and setting spray. I'm going to use it to prime my face, so I'll use it at the beginning and at the end of my makeup routine. So I'm just going to give myself a nice spray and then let it dry. Once your primer has dried, you can go ahead and actually start with your eyelids. So I'm going to use a primer for my eyeshadow, and I'll just dab that on my eyelids and then blend it out with a brush. Now that my eyelids are primed, I'm going to go ahead and set them with a translucent setting powder just so that the eyeshadow will go on very nicely. Okay, so now that all that's done, we're ready to start applying eyeshadow. So I'm going to actually use my Icons palette from Crush XO. There's so many really pretty colors in this palette, but for our eyelids, we're just going to use Cleopatra, which is up here in the left-hand corner. So I'm going to take that on my Crush XO brush, which is the perfect fit for my crease, and I'm just going to start lightly tapping it in there. We're going for more of a natural look with our shadow, so you can see that it's there, but it just looks very natural to kind of enhance our eyelids. So I also like to pull it out a little bit to the side as though it were a wing, because I feel like that enhances the eyes even more. So you can try that at home if you want. Now that both my eyes feel even with eyeshadow, I'm going to actually move right on to my liner. So I like to use a mix between a pen and a liquid liner just to make sure that it looks nice and dark. And I also like to start from the middle of my eye and then pull the wing out. Perfect. So if you struggle with winged liner like I do, it's okay. We're going to put lashes on top of them at the end of our routine. So they don't have to be perfect, but close enough will do. So to finish off my eyes for now, I'm going to go ahead and curl my lashes and then apply some waterproof mascara, and we'll just leave them alone for the rest of our routine until the very end. You get extra credit points if you can do the mascara step by keeping your mouth closed. That's the hardest part for me with mascara. So our top of our eyes are done now. I'm going to move on to the bottom waterline. So we put a nice purple underneath of our eye to really make them pop, and we also add a black liner to our waterline. So I'm going to start with my black liner. I just use a pencil and I fill in my waterline. Then you'll want to take any purple that you have. We use a darker purple. And then you'll want to take a brush with a really fine point. I'm using my Crush XO brush because it's perfect. It has a nice small pointed tip. And all you need to do is dip your brush in that purple color and apply it right below your waterline. And this can be nice and dark. We want it to really pop from far away. And don't worry if it gets too messy because we'll be cleaning it up when we do our base of our face. Okay, so my purple is nice and dark now, and now we are ready to start our base. So I'm going to begin with concealer just so that I can move right in and clean up that purple that we have. So just pick a shade of concealer that's 1 or 2 shades lighter than your actual skin tone, and that should be a nice fit. Another tip is to apply your concealer in a triangle shape underneath of your eyes, and pulling it as far out as you'd like. I like to pull mine out right to the end of my eye because I feel like it highlights my features even more and makes them appear larger from far away. My concealer is blended out fairly well now, so I'm going to go ahead and start applying my foundation. I like to pick a color that matches whatever tan I am at the moment, so I'm going to use a rich tan color for my skin. Great. So you can choose whether you use a brush or a beauty blender. I prefer a brush, and then if I see any strokes or any like harsh lines, I will go in with a beauty blender and just clean that up. But usually a brush works for me the majority of the time. Another tip for your foundation is to bring it down to your neck. That way you have a nice transition and it doesn't look like a harsh line on your cheek or on your jawline as you finish up that foundation. And also make sure that you blend it out into the hairline carefully so that you don't get too much in your hair. And then I notice that I need to go in and clean up my concealer a little bit, so I'm just gonna take the same brush that I used before and tap that out. Perfect. So I'm going to take that same concealer that I used underneath of my eyes, and I'm going to use it to highlight important parts of my face. So for me, I like to highlight the center of my forehead, the bridge of my nose, right underneath of my nose, and my chin. So I just take a small amount of that product and dab it in each of those areas. It doesn't have to be too heavy, just a nice highlight. A trick that I do for my nose is to take a little bit of my concealer, draw a line right down the bridge, and then dab just a little on my nose, and you'll see why in just a few minutes. So go ahead and take your brush or your beauty blender and blend out those highlights. For my nose, since I have a very precise line, I'm just going to tap it out very lightly. I still want it to be a little bit visible at the end. So just enough that it blends away, but we still want to see a nice highlight. There we go. Now it's really important to set all of our product. So I'm going to set my highlighted spots with a translucent setting powder, and I'm actually going to bake those areas. So I'm going to make sure I put on a really heavy layer of my translucent powder, and then for the rest of my face I'm just going to use a skin toned powder that matches to set it. Perfect. So that is what it looks like to start the baking. It looks uneven, but there is powder down there. It's just a little bit lighter. So now I'm going to take my other powder that matches my skin tone, and I'm going to set the rest of my base. Then to do that, I'll use a big fluffy brush. Make sure you bring that skin colored powder down your neck. We have to set that product as well since we brought it all the way down. Okay, so while our under eyes bake so that that product doesn't move around, we can move on to bronzer and blush. So you can take your favorite bronzer, and I recommend starting with a small brush. You can get a more precise line. And the reason I do this is so that we have more definition from far away. So if you're going to wear this just out, you might be able to skip this step, but if you're wearing it for performance, then I highly recommend doing this part. So I'm just going to purse my lips so that I can see where my cheekbone line is, and I'm going to go ahead and draw a harsh line in there. Okay, so as you can see, it looks a little silly right now. That's the point. Now I'm going to take an even bigger brush. It's more fluffy, and I'm going to blend. So put a good amount of product and bronzer on there, and I'm going to start blending out that line. And if you make a mistake like I just did and you feel like one side is too dark, I like to first take my foundation brush and just pat it out a little bit. And then I take my big fluffy brush that has my regular powder on it and just brush it out and try to blend it. Great. Once you're done with your cheeks, I recommend moving on to your forehead, and I like to bronze the areas that surround my highlighted part. So if you remember just a couple steps ago, we put a nice highlight in the middle of our forehead, so I'm going to make that pop by adding bronzer around it. So I follow my temples, right underneath my hairline, and repeat on the other side. And let's go ahead and do our lips. So we're going to use the Crush XO Matte Liquid Lipstick. So we're going to use the Matte Liquid Lipstick by Crush XO, and it's a beautiful color. It's a nice magenta, and this color is called Ballsy. So first I'm going to line my lips with a similar lip liner. I use a magenta color. It usually is the closest match. So go ahead and line your lips, and then we'll apply the lipstick. My lips are lightly lined, and now I'm just going to go ahead and apply the color right in between. This also smells so good, like vanilla. Okay, so there's our signature lip color all added on. It pulls the whole look together really nicely. So I promised you I would show you how to remove the mascara that gets onto your face, your perfectly made up face. So like I said, let it dry, and then I want you to take a clean spoolie brush, and all you're going to do is gently scratch off the mascara, so it should come right off. Perfect. So mine did come off. Now I'm just going to take my brush that I used to conceal, and I'm just going to gently pat it out just in case there's any type of shadow left. And I'm good as new.